Hello and welcome to the Jocelyn Moore Show. I'm your host, Jocelyn Moore, and as always, we're here to inform, inspire, and entertain with dynamic conversations that matter. Today, we will explore the world of education, martial arts, and authorship to uncover some truly unique insights. Joining us today is Tracey Sharpe. She is a retired teacher with 35 years of experience, a respected martial artist, and a published author of her first book, Damaged Goods.
Like you said, my name is Tracey Sharpe. I was born and raised here in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, the daughter of a nurse and a Pennsylvania state trooper. So learned and walked the straight and narrow from very early on. So.
Oh, yeah, you had to, didn't you?
That's right. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, Tracey, after 30 years of teaching, what's your core philosophy for teaching such a wide range of ages?
Well, I think I've taught everyone from pretty much preschool all the way up through seniors in high school. And the philosophy I kind of have behind all of them is just remember their children. Remember their children. They're still trying to figure out the world. They look to us to try to see, different ideas of how this world really functions, because behind all the behaviors and the clothing and the bravado a lot of them bring, they're just little children behind all that. And if we keep that in the back of our mind the whole time, you'll be able to teach them. You'll be able to teach them. If you can't see that, you're going to run into trouble. So yeah, just remember that these are children just learning about the world.
Then you have children who's growing up rough in a hard world, rough.
Correct. Most definitely. Most definitely. There's we see a lot of, or at least I teach in the inner city schools, and you see children come with a lot of baggage. They deal with a lot of things that they should not be dealing with at the age that they are. So they come with a lot more on their mind than perhaps math or algebra or English or whatever. They've got a lot of other things they're thinking about. So we have to keep that in mind, that these kids are a lot of them are trying to survive. First of all, they're just trying to get by day to day and get through what they need to get through. And if you keep that in the back of your mind, then you can approach, if you solve those types of things, or you look to resolve those types of things, then you can start to educate them. Because if you try to just push past all that and say, oh, put that aside till you go home tonight, it's not going to work. It's not going to work.
And the parents have to take their part too, be a part of all of this.
Definitely. And I've seen a lot of parents who, like the children, they're doing the best they can do. They're working 2 and 3 jobs. They have, children at home, or maybe there's a lot of situations where sometimes families are depending on other families to help them. They might be sleeping at their house. They might be asking someone to watch their kids. So the parents are going through a lot, just trying to keep a roof over their children's head, their bellies filled and all that. So yes, we need our parents, but we also have to support our parents too, because like I said, they've got a lot on their plates also. So
it's true. That's true. Can you share a memory that shows why you love teaching so much?
There's quite a few. There's quite a few memories, from trips we've gone on to children bringing all kinds of things to school that should not come to school. We've got I have a lot of memories, and, I would like to say the majority of them are good memories. The one thing that sticks out to me the most was right the year that I was retiring. One of my young ladies, who I believe was a 10th or 11th grade student, she said to me one of the last few days of school, she said, Ms. Sharpe, you really made learning fun. You made us want to learn. She said, you made us want to go out and figure it out on our own. And that really touched me, because I thought, wow, that may have been like my intention in the back of my mind. My goal was, I've got to teach. I've got to get these things through and teach children this. But that piece that she brought out, is kind of my philosophy in the back of my brain, is I want them to want to learn. And for her to verbalize that made me think, okay, I must have done my job then. So.
Well, that's good. What about, you have kids who are, I know you have 30 kids in the classroom?
Yes. When I taught elementary and middle school, you had upwards of between 30, 35 children in a classroom, because I taught what they consider an elective. So I wasn't teaching English or math. I wasn't teaching a homeroom. I had computers. I taught computer. I taught technology. So the students would come, like you go to art, music, gym, etc. Computer was one of the classes they would come to. So you would not only get that teacher's classroom of 30 children, you would get the other children that may have been in resource rooms also coming in with you. So I had quite a few children in my room. I remember one day I called down to the principal and I said, "Can you just walk down to my classroom?" And he walked in, he said, "What is going on in here?" He said, "Why are there so many people?" I said, "This is what has been assigned to me." And it was pretty much standing room only because I probably had about 35 or 36 children in there. Plus, because a lot of them were coming from resource rooms, they would have their itinerants with them or maybe a one-on-one specialist with them. So there were probably a good 5 to 8 adults in there also. It got to be a lot. It really got to be a lot, especially at that elementary, middle school age where that's the age where you want less children because you have to address so much more and the maturity isn't there for them to, kind of occupy themselves and stay calm and quiet. Elementary, middle school, they want a lot of attention from those adults. So they're going to give you a reason to give them attention, good or bad. So
Would you say like elementary, kindergarten through high school, like all the classes should be smaller?
I think especially when you're teaching inner city, when you're teaching, lower income students, the smaller you get, the better you have better have the ability to give attention where's needed. Because a lot of times what we've found is that students may miss certain objectives, miss certain standards as they're coming through. So they may be sitting in a 3rd grade classroom, may have missed a couple of 1st or 2nd grade concepts. When you're sitting in a mass of 30 plus children, I can't address those children as well as I could if they were younger, or I'm sorry, if there were less children in the room. When I have, 12, 15 students, then there's a little bit more time to go in and address those missing pieces that you want to fix so that they can be successful with the rest of their class. 30 plus, unfortunately, you're going to miss a lot of time. You're going to miss a lot of opportunities to work with students as individuals, unfortunately.
I'll ask you this question. After decades in the classroom, what's the biggest change you observe in education? Well, we just talked about, the larger classrooms and all of that. So give us some more examples.
The biggest thing that I've seen a change in education is the loss of fundamentals. The loss of fundamentals. There's a time, the push right now is more towards like discovery and free thinking, which is fantastic. And there's a time for that. But the basics still need to be taught. And I was speaking before about how I have had juniors, seniors coming through high school that still don't even have basics of how to hold a pencil. They're holding a pencil with a grip and trying to write. The students, the way that they write their letters, even the shape of the letters, they'll take like the letter R or the letter P, and come up from the bottom of the paper to shape the letter, because those basics that we used to teach back in kindergarten and 1st grade have been pushed by the wayside because the teachers are being told, move. You got to hit these benchmarks, move, get these kids to this point. So the time that we used to spend practicing how to hold a pencil, how do you shape the letters? Those things have been pushed by the wayside. Even things like grammar. Now the students these days, the kids text a lot. So you'll see a lot of written work with text language. They'll put the number 2 for the word to, the letter R for the word ARE for R. Those basics are being neglected because the teachers are being forced to push, get through, hit these benchmarks. Testing's coming. These kids have to know these things. So there's a lot of loss of those basic fundamentals. And that's probably the thing I've seen that was the biggest change in education, along with, the big classes, the bigger class sizes, et cetera, things like that.
I hear you, but to me, they want them to get from A to B and A to B, C to D and all that. But you have to know how to hold a pencil to write. They're missing. They're not really helping the kids. You're moving along the kids each time. How are they learning?
Well, if you look at it, from the top end, they say, oh yeah, they're learning. They've hit these benchmarks. They understand these objectives.
How do they know?
Yeah. Well,
How do they know?
that's a whole nother piece, because a lot of times these mandates are coming from people who either have never been in a classroom or have not been in a classroom for many, 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 many years, or they have not sat in a classroom of today. And I don't mean pop in and say, oh, wow, look what's going on, and pop back out, done a 15-minute visit. I'm talking about you come in that classroom and do what that teacher's been doing for a week or so. Then you'll start to see, oh, this is not working. There's gaps. And the students, I've had students that have said, high school students said, I want to know how to sign my name. They don't teach writing. We don't teach cursive. Cursive has been gone for years.
Why?
But it was no longer needed. It was no longer needed.
Why is it I'm sorry. I'm a little bit frustrated. Why is it no longer needed? I do not understand that.
Because the art of letter writing, used to write to your grandma, thank you for the gift you gave me on my birthday. We used to write to each other. All that's has gone away because now we have the cell phone. We have phones. We have cell phones that we can give that immediate feedback to whomever with a text. And the text is nothing but a keyboard. So we don't need to know how to write. But now the kids are coming out and people are realizing, the students especially, are saying, I want to learn how to write my signature. Because although I may fill an application out online, I'm just typing, a lot of times things, and unfortunately now they have electronic signatures.
Right.
I've
seen that.
But the kids will go, students don't know how to write checks. They don't know about that balancing checkbook because the computer does it for them. But I've had so many children come and say, I just want to know how to sign, what's it like to sign my name? And they have to know how to write cursive.
That's sad.
It really is. And I think, at least my thought process, the philosophy behind it is, well, it's not needed anymore. We have other things to take the place of. We've got electronic signatures. We've got email. We've got text. So why push that little thing of handwriting? We don't need to be so bothered with that, which feeds back to the pencil grip. We don't need to have a pencil grip because we're not writing anything. Students are typing and such. So
I will say this, and then we'll move on. Talking about your signature. I know I get documents from insurance, whatever, online, my signature, right?
yes.
But when I write my check or sign another document someplace else, of course, it's not the same.
It's not. It's not. My own children who are in their late 20s, 27, 28 years old, and my son and his wife, I said something about cashing a check, and I said, you have to sign your name on the back and take it to the... They said, no, you don't. You just snap a picture of it and send it to the bank that way. They do this electronic banking. It's such a digital world we are now in.
Right, it's true.
Yes, so many skills that you and I grew up with that were necessary skills. The people of today, the generations of today, are being told, you don't need that. We've got other ways around that. So,
well, I like the old way. I like some things I like, but I like the old way.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I wanted to know what led you to retire after, that's a long time. 35 years is a long time.
It was a long time.
It's because everything has changed in education, or you wanted to do other things, or what?
Yeah, I think my biggest decision, biggest thing that made me want to retire was it was mostly the years of service. I was getting to the age where I was ready. I'm a grandmother now. I'm ready to say, if I say sit down, just go sit down. I don't need to hear all that. And when you get it 25, 30 reasons in 5 minutes of why I need to do this, I need to do this, I have to go to the bathroom right this second, I have to go see my friend. The argument back and forth a lot of times. But my kids, and I'm not saying my students push me out of the classroom with their arguing and such. No, the kids are kids. They're going to do what the kids are going to do. I think along with the years of service, education to me became a little bit top heavy, and it did not seem like we were serving the children as much. Again, I go back to a lot of decisions being made by people who are not on the front line with the kids. These teachers that are in these classrooms now, They're fighting the fight. They're fighting good fights. They're there for those children. They are advocating for those children, but a lot of times they're pushing up against brick walls on the other end, at the top end of, admin, sometimes with dealing with parents' wants, parents' beliefs, and things that they want. A lot of times I saw towards the end what the parent wanted superseded what the teacher knew the child needed. And that just became too often the norm. So again, it was kind of like, banging your head against a brick wall. You look at your classroom, you stand up there in front and you look out at these babies' faces and you know what they need to be successful. But then you have coming in from the background above you, well, we want you to do this and we want you to do this. And, this one's parent doesn't think he needs that. So we're not going to give him that. We're going to give him this instead because this parent wants him to learn this. So there were a lot of reasons that I said, okay, I'm going to leave this to the younger set and, and let them, they're maybe better able to fight that good fight more than I can anymore. So, yeah.
My sister and niece, my sister was in education close to 40 years. And she said, a lot has changed. I used to sub back in the day. I would not want to be a teacher today. I'm sorry. I give it to the teachers. I do not want to give it. I want to say this quickly. When one of my relatives told me that they're a counselor at school, and one of the students got in trouble for something, and they had the teachers there, and they had, I think, the vice principal and the principal there. This was elementary. The little boy said, the F word.
Yes, ma'am.
F you so F you so F you so F you so. They got to the principal and said the principal's whole name and elementary.
Yes. Yep. And that's what I mean, because back when we were younger, and even I know I instilled in my children, there's an automatic level of respect that you give just based on the person's age.
Right.
Just based on their age. If my children got in trouble in school, what that teacher said happened, I'm 99.9% sure it happened. And even if it didn't happen, you still do what that adult told you to do. You can complain about it later, but you do what the adult told you to do. Nowadays, the students are told, well, the adults should do what I want. I run this. And unfortunately, they believe that. There are so many children, and I'm talking elementary, middle school, because I have been back substituting in the elementary school, and the children have decided that they run the school, and because consequences have been pulled back so far, even that child who would not normally think of behaving or acting a certain way says, well, he got it to do that. He didn't get in trouble for doing that. I should do that too. And there are parents that say there's no way in the world my child would do that, or my child knows better than that. But you put a child in a group with 25, 26 other children, and everybody's running, most of those kids are going to start running too. They're going to follow each other, even if they know back home that my mom knows I'm not supposed to be doing this, but they're children. They're going to do what children do. So yeah, a lot. And unfortunately, and again, this was one of the reasons I retired also, is the consequences of behavior have been pulled back so far that it's almost like, why would I not speed? Why would I not speed if there's no police? The police aren't going to do anything. The police may pull me over and say, don't do that again.
So easy.
Yeah. So yeah, there needs to be a shift a little bit as far as making the children understand there are consequences for behavior, because unfortunately, and true story, we've had students who will come out of school. We had a young man who got in trouble with the police, and he said, well, you can't arrest me. I have an IEP. Because in school, he could not be suspended because he had an individual education program. He could not be in trouble. He could not go to detention. He could not do in-school suspension. His behavior was allowed because he's got special circumstances. But that's not the way the world works. And that's what the problem is. The kids are coming out and they don't realize this is not the way the world works. There are consequences in the real world. But,
and I was watching the news one day. This happens quite a bit. And these kids, teenagers, killed this man, and they thought they would get off easy because they were, underage.
Okay. Yeah.
They got life.
Yes, and they
They
don't
got, and they
realize.
were crying. They were shocked. They got life. Like you said, the real world.
Yeah, these
The
babies, they
real.
don't understand it, and that's what I mean when I say these are babies mimicking behaviors that they've either seen or someone has told them it is okay, and that's where I feel like we as adults, and they talk about the village raising these children, we have to make them understand there are hard life consequences when you do the wrong thing, and unfortunately in the school, that a lot of time the teachers and the principal's hands are tied a lot,
Right. That's sad.
and that's really the unfortunate part because the children are the ones who are gonna suffer. The kids are gonna suffer
Always. The children and the rest of us suffer too because what? Because
of
because
their
because
actions.
they get away with a lot of
Yes,
things. Okay.
yes,
Let's
yeah.
go beyond education right now. All right.
Okay.
So, how did you get involved in martial arts and now and has to practice? Oh, and how has the practice influenced your life? How did you get
Well,
involved?
how'd I get involved? Well, when my boys were young, they took, taekwondo, and I used to, of course, I took them to lessons, and I used to sit inside and watch, and I thought, "Oh, this is amazing." I just thought it was so neat what they were doing, and I would see older people there, adults and old teenagers, and I thought it was just such a cool thing to do. But I was, shy and I wanted to do it, but I was too embarrassed to do it because I was an adult and I was old, and
Old. Okay.
yeah, I was older. So,
Okay, that sounds better. Okay.
yeah, there we go. So I didn't wanna do it because I was afraid of what people on the outside would say or think or, what she thinks she's doing out there. Look at how she can't do that. Look at how she messed that up. Um, Luckily for me, as I got much older, probably about 10, 12 years ago, I heard that the Teddy Roosevelt speech, or I read the Teddy Roosevelt speech, or someone put me in onto that Teddy Roosevelt speech called "The Man in the Arena," and it basically talks about how we shouldn't give credit to the critic who's out there pointing, saying, "Look how that person messed up. Oh, look how bad they did that." That the credit should go to the person that's actually in the arena doing the job. And the part of that speech that meant the most to me, that really influenced me the most, that said, even if now I'm, paraphrasing, but even if, I fall down and mess up and whatever, if I do well, I get to experience that triumph of high achievement. But even if I fail, at least I failed while daring greatly. And that really just sat with me, and I thought, "You know what? Even if I go out there and I can't do it, or I look like a complete fool, at least I tried. At least I tried. I went out there and I know what it's like to go out there and try, as opposed to sitting on the sidelines and pointing at somebody else saying, "Oh, they did that terribly." So
That's true.
yeah, so I decided, you know what, I'm gonna jump into this martial arts thing. I don't care how I look or how it goes, but I'm gonna give it a try. And I started doing it, and then my teacher convinced me to do a tournament. Now you go against people your own age for the most part and your same belt level, and ended up doing very well in the tournament. So, although I felt like I didn't know what I was doing, that I wasn't doing it well, when the judges handed out those awards, according to them, I was doing pretty well. So yeah, so I really, really enjoy it. It's fun. We have the school that I go to, it's more of a family. We're almost like a family there. So we just have a good time. We support each other, encourage each other. We laugh at each other. We have a good time. It's a great school. So
Well, I told you before the interview that I love Bruce Lee. Oh my goodness. I used to have pictures of him all over the place. I
hanging
used to
up all
watch The
over.
Green Hornet and The Fist of Fire. I can't remember the movies. I could not remember these movies, but I was so in love with that man. That's when I really heard about martial arts, really.
Yeah, I did those movies. Like I tell you though, those movies, they look real good. But
Yeah, he
but
looked
he
real
does
good
some
too.
outtakes. Yeah.
Bruce Lee. It was so
Yeah.
sad when he passed.
I know.
It
My
was so
my
sad.
my grandmaster is a humongous Bruce Lee fan.
Ah,
She lives for Bruce. She's very similar to you. She lives for everything Bruce Lee says. is
Yeah,
code. You know,
Bruce
that
Lee.
is for her. So yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into your book, Damaged
Oh
Goods.
yes,
Was there a
yes,
particular reason you chose that title? And could you give us a brief summary of the book?
yes. I use the title "Damaged Goods" because for me, it brought to mind like a package you got delivered at your house, and the box was all mangled up. And the initial assumption is always, oh, this is something wrong with this. This is not what I ordered. This is not what I wanted. I don't want this. So the title kind of goes to that. The box may be a mess, the damage, but if you open up the box, you actually open up the box, you may find that the goods inside are perfectly fine, and that becomes the goods. What it may be what you were actually looking for was inside that box, even though that box was damaged and messed up. What you really, really needed or really, really desired was inside that box. And that's the kind of the title of the story, because the summary of the story basically is about these two women. It's these two women who are older, they're sisters, but the story reflects back to their growing up as children and a lot of the trauma and such that they went through that may have created that beat up box that surrounds us, the outside body, but how to discover the goods that are inside, they're hidden inside. So,
I love that title, Damaged Goods. I do. That's an excellent title. Okay. Looking back on your writing process, what was the hardest part and what was the most rewarding part of writing a book?
wow. Well, the hardest part, and I think this goes for anyone writing anything, is to try to get what you're envisioning down on a piece of paper, so that other people can see what you're seeing. That's very hard for me, and I struggle with that even now because I want to tell the story, but I have to, in order for the reader to feel the story, they have to be able to see the surroundings of the story. So yeah, and be able to follow that path of that character. So yeah, that was the hardest part for me, was just getting it out of my brain and down onto a piece of paper in a way that I knew others would be able to understand and see what I was seeing. Probably the most rewarding part was also getting it out of my brain. I've carried that story around in my head for a little while, but the most rewarding part, I believe, and it's very odd to me, and it was funny because I just finished reading a Stephen King book, and he alluded to the same thing at the end in his author notes at the end. And this was surprising to me. You have an idea of what's going to happen in the book, but the characters kind of take on their own life, and you kind of just write where that character takes you, because the characters that I had originally planned for that book kind of went a different route than what I thought they were going to go. I kind of just had to follow them and write it out. So the most rewarding piece, I think, was at the end, the way it concluded, which I won't spoil, but the way it concluded was a little more different, I think, than what I had initially planned. But so yeah, so the rewarding part was the end of the story, actually feeling like the story had been told and that it had closed all up. So
Did you get a lot? I know when I write, it's normal. You get writer's block. It's just blank. You can't think of anything, so you have to put that to the side. And I notice when I write and when I come back, I change everything. I'm tearing up the pages and it's like starting over again because your mind is refreshed.
yes, yes, yeah, or yeah, you go away from it and come back for a little bit later and reread and say, yeah, this particular story, I did it differently, which was odd to me. I wrote it in different chunks. It wasn't linear. So, because I would get blocked, I didn't know what was going to happen next, and I'd have to walk away. But I knew there was another section that, oh, I can work on this part, and then I'll put it all together later on. So, yeah, it definitely, that writer's block was, yeah, that can drive you crazy. Yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So.
Now, Tracy, in closing, I know it's that time. As a teacher, martial artist, and now an author, what is the central insight that connects these diverse paths in your life?
What I honestly believe going through everything in life, um, you have to look beyond what you see on the outside. Same thing I said with the children, you have to look beyond that the behaviors and the actions that they're bringing. With martial arts, you have to look beyond the age or the ability or the body makeup of that person. Sometimes you look at a person and say, I can beat that person, or that person's not a threat to me. You don't know because you're just looking at that outside package. Relating back to the child, you don't know what's inside because you're looking at the outside package. And then again, with the story, that kind of thing, I think that kind of culminates the whole idea of it's what's on the inside. It's not necessarily that package on the outside. So I think that you have to just go through life constantly looking beyond what you see on the outside in every situation, and new experiences, and when you go to places, when you meet people, when you try something new, always try to a Bruce Lee quote about come with an empty cup. Come with an empty cup into every experience and try to fill it. Don't go in with preconceived notions.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Now, what's next for you, and how can viewers contact you?
Right now, what's next for me? I'm working on another book.
Oh,
And another young lady who goes through a little bit of trauma. Well, she goes through a lot of trauma in childhood, but it evolves into and building her character as an adult. And again, you have that kind of hidden facade behind, and you kind of have to dig a little bit to see who this young lady really turns out to be. So I'm working on this second book. I'm also in the background. There's a children's series going. That's what I do when that writer's block bumps into me. I go back and work on the little kid book. I want to try to introduce vocabulary. I want to introduce higher level vocabulary to brown and black children all over, and I want it to reflect people that look like them. I want the characters in these books to look like them and use higher level vocabulary, which all our children are capable of, but some of them choose not to use. But I'm trying to put that together as something, as a go-to for some children. So those are my two big projects right now that I'm working on. I can be contacted. I have a email and I'm working on a website, but an email is the Sharpe Reader, with Sharpe spelled SHARPE, and it's the Sharpe Reader @gmail.com. You can reach me there at any time, and hopefully the website will be up soon.
thank you so much. Can't wait for your new book to have you back again. Okay.
Yes, I am.
And I appreciate you doing the book, because what's going on now with our young people, they need to know who they are.
Yes, they definitely, and they have so
that
much
they
capable-
matter.
Yes, and they're valued.
Right.
Yes, definitely. So,
Well, Tracey, thank you so much.
bye now.
For our viewers at home watching, if you like what you see, subscribe to The Jocelyn Moore Show. Want to be a guest on our show? Head over to our website, www.jmentertainment.info. On the home page, click on About and follow directions to be a guest. If you have any questions about today's show or past or future shows, just click Contact on our website and submit a message. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time, take care and keep watching.